Hello and welcome to the inside of a Porsche Taycan. Not any Porsche Taycan, possibly the best Porsche Taycan. Now this new car is significant for a number of reasons. It's not a Taycan Turbo S, it's not a Taycan Turbo, it's not a Taycan 4S, it is just Taycan. That's what it says on the boot lid, just Taycan. Now that means it is the base model, the entry-level model to the range at about £70,000, but from a driving perspective, most significant is how much it weighs, or how much it doesn't weigh. Battery electric vehicles, as you will know, tend to weigh a bit more than an internally combusted vehicle of similar performance and range. So in the Taycan Turbo S, which is the car that came first with 700 horsepower, ballistic, brilliant fun, crazy fun car, it weighed 2.3 tons. Then came the 4S, which is a little bit lighter than that. But this is not a four-wheel drive Taycan. It has no motor at the front end. It only has one electric motor at the back, same size motor as the 4S. And in having that, it means that there is 100 kilograms taken out of this car, some of which at the front end. So while all Taycans do drive like Porsches, they do feel like a Porsche. When you get in it, you go, yeah, this feels like a Porsche. This is, this is a Porsche-ish driving experience. This is the first time where I think you would say that this is a Taycan which drives a little bit like, not just a Porsche, but a bit like a Porsche 911. But basically, what is it? Well, it's a 5-metre long saloon car with 4 doors, 400-litre boot at the back, 100-litre boot in the front too, 5 seats in this car, and all up, its weight is 2,040 kilograms. Now, I know that's still relatively heavy, 2 tons plus. For a driver's car, is a heavy driver's car. But it's less than other Taycans, and Porsche does manage to do tremendous things with cars. As you'll know, if you've ever driven something like a Cayenne, which is a tall SUV, but drives like you would not believe a car of that size can drive. Really rewarding, really engaging, and that's what we've got with this Taycan.
So here's the technical bit. There are 2 different battery packs available on the Taycan. A basic one with 71 kilowatt hours of usable battery, and a performance battery pack with a usable size of 87 kilowatt hours. Now, this is the bigger battery car, and it's a bit heavier too, so to make it worth the performance name, it has more power. In launch control and overboost, it makes up to 469 brake horsepower, but in normal driving, just 375 brake. The lesser battery only gives you 322 brake in normal driving and 402 in launch control mode, but mechanically, both have the same motor. It's the same as you'll find in the back of a Taycan 4S. And with no motor on the front, around 90 kilograms has been removed, mostly at the front end. The range of the small battery Taycan sits at 268 miles on the official WLTP drive cycle, with a claimed 301 miles for this bigger battery.
Now, I say that, I got in this car this morning, it was nearly full, it's January, the weather is terrible, it is, how many degrees outside? 9.5 degrees outside, it was less than that this morning, said I had about 200 miles of range. And that's turned out to be about right. Taycans can be charged pretty quickly. This one you can charge it up to about 222 kilowatts on a DC charger. The bigger battery takes more power more quickly. Either you can go from like 20 to 80% battery in about 20 minutes. So if you find the right charging station, happy days. And the rest of the time, presumably, you will charge from the wall box at home overnight. Now, from 70 grand, still quite a lot of money, isn't it, still quite a lot of money for a car, but in base form, your 70 grand will get you a car on coil springs. I have yet to try a Taycan on coil springs, in the same way that it was really hard to drive a Cayenne or a Panamera on coil springs when they first came out, because most of Porsche's demonstrators are on optional air springs. But I do remember talking to Wolfgang Dörheimer, who was the technical lead of the Panamera when that first came out. I remember saying, look, what's your preferred version of that car? And he said, oh, I really like one on coil springs with as few options in as possible and the lightest engine as possible. And when we talk to ride and handling engineers and dynamics engineers about their favourite car in a range, quite often it is the lightest version that they like the most, because it's the most agile, it's the most rewarding, it turns the most easily because there's just the least amount of mass inside it. And some also like the sort of, while air springs are excellent for keeping a body really flat, giving really good body control, some engineers and some drivers, and I'm maybe one of them, like the sort of honesty of coil springs, that you know what you're going to get because it does the same thing every time. However, the important thing about this car is not that it's on air or coils. The important thing is that it weighs less than other Taycans, and that weight has come out from the front end, a lot of it. And that lack of weight just comes onto its own when you're on a demanding road. So I'm on a road at the minute, which is, if you don't live in the UK, you might be surprised to find how bad some of our roads are, especially ones that we call B roads. So they're kind of minor roads. They have, you know, one lane each way, but they drive around small fields. They dip quite a lot, and quite often there's hedgerows and trees on one side. They're very heavily crowned to try and keep the water off. But the sort of roots and things from the hedgerows and trees come under, so they unsettle that side differently to this side. And they're just, if a car rides and handles well here, pretty much will anyway. And the lovely thing about this Taycan is that with a little bit less weight on the nose and with no power to the front drive shafts, all that steering has to do is steer. And it has to steer a smaller amount at the front. So it does feel a bit more like a 911 or a Porsche sports car than one of Porsche's bigger cars. And there's quite a lot to like about that. So in these crummy conditions, as you just sort of push on a bit and it hits a bit of standing water and maybe the front end just starts to lose a bit of grip, you just feel that through the steering ever so slightly. And then as you come out of these tighter corners, although I've only got a willing sort of 370 horsepower behind me and a 2-ton car to propel, you can just still feel the car straighten itself slightly on the throttle. And brilliant fun though the Turbo S is in its brutality of performance, this just has a level of agility and finesse that car just doesn't have. And all of those things combined add up, to me, to making this Taycan the best Taycan there is to drive. And given the Taycan is arguably the best sporting EV on sale anyway, then there's a very strong argument that this is the best example of the best example that you can currently have. So if you're looking for a Taycan, unless you're addicted to 700 horsepower, and maybe you will, or if you live somewhere where you need four-wheel drive, if you don't and you want the best one, this is the best one. So thanks for joining me. We've got lots more Taycan content. There is a Will It Drift of a Taycan, which is a turbo, doing ridiculous things. Its wheels are going at like 110 miles an hour while the car's moving at barely walking pace. We also have other reviews, news, motor shows, if anybody ever has one of those again. If you click subscribe, maybe click the bell icon, you will never miss one, and we'd really appreciate that. It'd be very kind. You don't know how much it means to me that you support the channel. Really appreciate it. Otherwise, we're also at autocar.co.uk and in all good news agents every Wednesday, and also online as a digital print edition, which is a really nice thing. So I'll see you in the comments, or I'll see you at the next vid. Thanks for watching. See you next time.